Hello everyone, welcome to another awesome live stream with the fmtraining.tv. It's great to have you guys here. My name is Margaret. I will be your broadcast engineer for today. Richard is off doing Richard things down south in California, so he's not here. But you do have me, and you do have Kyle Williams, who is here. Feel free to show your wonderful video, Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Kyle is here to talk about more advanced JSON stuff, which we're very excited to hear about today, because that's going to be fun. A quick reminder, we do stream on 3 platforms. We stream on Discord, we stream on Twitch, and we also stream on YouTube. So, feel free to watch us on any of those. We've got links to all of them. Also, again, since we are live, please ask us questions. Kyle loves questions, I love questions. Feel free to interact and talk with us. This is kind of a more advanced topic today, but still ask them. Even if we can't, we could probably answer them for you, or at least Kyle certainly advanced enough in JSON. I'd be surprised if you could ask him something that he couldn't answer. So please feel free to shoot us some questions. We'd love to hear them. Real quick, I'm going to cover the future live stream schedule. It's over here. Why are you over here? Okay, so future live stream schedule. Today is like another day of advanced JSON and FileMaker with Kyle. Monday, we have the calendar kit with Calvin. Calvin is back, and he is here to discuss his calendar kit with us, which Claris actually ended up using. Tuesday, Kyle is back again to discuss. He's showed us many amazing hacks for all of our FileMaker files using JSON and a variety of other stuff over the past several weeks. So he's going to take 2 of them and slowly add them into a solution, so you can figure out how to add it into your own solution. So that should be really fun. Please stop by for that. On Wednesday, we have a PayPal demo with the FileMaker. So one of our engineers will be discussing PayPal and FileMaker, so that'll be fun. Thursday is Christian and Calvin talking about a new version of Wolfpack and all the add-ons and some new stuff and going back over it again, so that'll also be a nice time. And then Friday is actually an open Q&A session with Jacob, Taylor, and Richard. So bring your questions, bring your server questions. We will be happy to answer them. If you discover that you don't like maybe the live stream interactive environment, or you don't like our topics, we do have a really amazing free Learning FileMaker annual subscription. So basically, this is 90 hours of video content. They're in short, bite-sized bits. They're very fun, very educational. We talk about pretty much everything on the FileMaker platform. So Pro, Go, WebDirect, Server, you pick it, name it, we talk about it. And we do it in a really active, dynamic, animated, interesting way. So feel free to support the channel. It helps keep the lights on here. We greatly appreciate it. What are we doing today, Kyle? What's happening?
Okay, so today we're going to return back to our JSON demo file, and we're going to talk about some custom functions. So today is all about custom functions in using JSON and how to leverage that into our applications. So let's go ahead and do a share screen. So yesterday we discovered a little bug, and I was showing off the JSON get elements as variables function. So I'm just going to show you data viewer and debugger. So Peter Gaines pointed this out as we were testing and kind of showing this off, that we had this JSON over here, and we're going through here using this function. It looks at the JSON, then it has a Boolean value for true or false here, and that's to determine if we want globals or local variables. So if we want global, we put a 1 here, and then we have a prefix that we can add to our variable. So in this case, we have this employee section, and it's going to assign a bunch of variables to employee, and then we have a client section here, which is another sub object, and so it's going to go through and create those variables. So yesterday when we were testing this, Peter was pointing out that ID shift and ID service were showing the same 321 value, which was incorrect, because we can see over here shift is supposed to be 6789. So I just wanted to point out that I was able to fix that, and we updated the file this today. So it's there in Discord for you to check out. So I'm just going to let that play. So just kind of show you what was wrong. So if I go into custom functions here, I have this one function in here, and I was updating it so that it would work with versions before FileMaker 18, because before this function was using the while function, which is FileMaker 18 and 19 only. And our company uses FileMaker Go on tablets, and our tablets are really old, and we don't want to pay to update 100 different tablets, and that's a lot of money. So my boss was asking me, can we get this to work in the older versions? So I had to come up with a recursion formula. So you can see here it's got a lot of variables. And so my first time through, I just had the variables. Well, the problem with using variables in a recursion formula like this is you might be using these same variables in a script like loop count or found count. So what I did is I went through here and I was adding all these double tildes because I've never seen anybody create a variable with 2 tildes to start. So I figured that was a pretty safe way to make this work and not conflict with any scripts. So what I found yesterday was right here, this one did not have any tildes in it. So it wasn't updating the loop count. So that's why we were getting the same loop count twice. So we were getting 2 variables with the same value because the tildes were missing here. So that's what I did to fix it. So I'm just going to cancel out of that. And so now you can see that's working. So
we do have actually some quick questions already, which was
sure.
very fast. From Michael Skiratsky, I mispronounced that, I'm very sorry, on YouTube. Any way to clear the globals at the end of the script?
Yes. So, oh, wait, I'm in the wrong file. Okay, so when this, I don't know if he's talking about script or the custom function that I created here, but at the very bottom, you can see that it's emptying this, all of these variables are being emptied right at the end. So when it's all done, all of these are going to be cleared. So I don't know if that answers this question, but if you wanted to clear all of your variables at the end of a script, you can use the let function and you use the same trick. So if I'm in the script, let's say I got this script here, and see I got a bunch of variables here. I do not have a custom function that looks at the JSON and just clears all of the values, but that is a pretty good idea. Maybe I can work on that. Because that would be pretty handy to go down here at the end and just say, to do the same thing I was doing at the very top. Right here, it'd be great to do this and just say JSON clear variables maybe, and then it could clear based on the JSON. So that could be an interesting future custom function. No, I have not created that. But usually we go into here and we just say clear globals, and then we go into specify, and then we usually use the let function, and then so then basically you would have all your variables at the very top here, and I'd put a little tab in there and then say clear my global. So it'd be global equals empty, and then copy and paste, and then we'll put a couple of those in there, and we'll say 2 and 3. So then I like to keep those in line, and this would basically end with just an empty value. So this is a quick way to clear all of your globals. So oftentimes I'll do a little function like that at the very end, just clear any global variables that I may have made in my script if I don't want to use them anywhere else. So that's a very quick, easy way to clear all of your variables. And then as the script's going through, it goes, oh, right here, clear globals. So this clear globals isn't going to equate to anything, because at the end here you can see we're just emptying that variable as well. So there's no variables being created, we're just clearing it. So for anybody who's never seen that before, that's a really cool trick.
It is indeed pretty nifty.
So we got kind of a big thing to start on here. I did kind of a preview in a previous episode on this, and I said that I was just showing a sneak peek of this. So today we're going to go ahead and dive into this. So this should be kind of fun. We go to this website here, quackit.com. The reason why I put that URL here is this has a list of all the CSS color names. Before we get started into that, let me get into the backstory. Let me get into why I created this in the first place. So if I go to recent, progress bar, this should have it. And, oh, I created an add-on. So yeah, I do have this file that creates the add-on for this. And this is using CSS colors for this background here. So this is in the hacks file, by the way, if you want a demo of it. So basically I'm using CSS colors here. And when the script runs, if I go get out of that, and I just go into the script, see update. So, okay, sorry about that. So we got open, and then we're going into the CSS here. And then I'm using that CSS color, and then I'm asking for the hex value of it. And so that way I can convert that color into any, this is to create a sample color of 1 pixel, which I can then put in my container field. You may have seen before that I had a color selector that uses that same trick. So it's just populating it for the background of the progress bar. And as I'm updating, if I go into update, okay, so no, it's all done ahead of time, I think. Maybe I put it in here too. Oh, convert color, okay. So there to color the text, I'm converting that same color into a decimal value for this to color the text. So if I go into manage custom functions, we'll be able to see what that function looks like. So the trick I'm going to show you is how I was able to create this very quickly and easily. You can see this is a lot to try to manually type and program. I did not manually type any of this. I actually created functions that pulled it all from that website. So this is a lot of colors, it's a lot of data, and it just goes on and on for a long time. Then I have my functions down at the bottom that do all the work. So
I'm curious. What are the functions that pulled it from the website? Do you have them in this file or no?
yes. So I didn't have the convert color in the new file, but it's in this. It's in the hacks file that we released a couple weeks ago, as well as it's in the progress bar demo part of it.
Got it. Okay.
It's where it's being used. So how was I able to create that? Let's go into here. So we have all of our CSS colors, and this has all the color names, the hex values, and the RGB values. So what I did is I went through here, scrolled down, and here I'm just going to copy that. And here I'm going into Excel to create a tab file. So there's a little caveat right here. If I were to paste this, all of a sudden I have all of this. It's all hyperlinks. I would have to remove the hyperlinks. The other problem with just pasting it in here is it thinks these are numbers. So it's pulling the zeros out from the front of it. And not all of this is correct. So like this is supposed to be 008080, and it's extracting those, it's thinking it's a number. So we don't want to do it that way. So if I just do undo, what we're going to do here is we're going to paste special, and we're going to just paste the text. Okay. And then we have our RGB is over here in this column. Decimal color, we don't have a decimal color here. We do have the hex code value here and the color name here. And then here we're just going to get rid of like reds, pinks. So if we go back here, we can see what that is. So here we have reds, pinks, oranges, and so on. So to continue on, get rid of the yellows, purples. And here we're going to have some other headings. So we want to get rid of all of that. So basically we're just going through and we're cleaning this up. Obviously we don't need all of this. It's just going to mess things up. It's probably best to just delete these rows. So delete. And again, delete the row. Better way to do it. So basically that's what I did. And then I pasted it. Oh, wait, I skipped a step here. Okay, so once I cleaned all that up, then I was able to save it. So I save, it's going to ask me what to save it as. And you go down here to tab delimited text. And then, see, it's going to save it to pictures. Let's go to desktop. Colors. And tab. Okay, so I'm just going to save it. Do you want to keep using this format? Yes. So then if I go to the desktop and I find colors.tab, open with text editor. So you can see here it creates a tab file. So when you copy and paste this, sometimes it'll put little spaces in between. So I did account for that in my formula for the function. So you can see here I just pasted all that data in here, just like that. And then what I'm doing is I'm using this custom function here, and just to show you this is real. I'm going to clear that, and the result disappears. If I paste it back, the result comes back. So this is what it's giving me. There's two parameters. So one is it's pulling all of this tab data into it right here, this tab to JSON formula. So that is our tab data from our file. And then I have a second parameter, and that is to adjust how this result turns out. So if I put a 1 here, it's going to use the color name as the key for each of these objects. So it's going to sort all the colors, and it's going to give us an object based on the color name. If I use a 2, it's going to use hex code. If I use 3, it's going to use RGB. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can see here in alphabetical order, it just used the color name all the way down, and it's returning the other values inside of it. So that could be handy for other things too. So I was trying to make this really universal for any tab file that you create. So like here, I just use the hex values, and if I use 3, it's going to use the RGB values.
Honestly, though, it's very cool, Kyle. Seriously.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to make?
The custom function, it took me maybe 30 minutes to get through it all.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a little bit of trial and error because I created it in like 15, 20 minutes, but then I had to deal with all these little gaps in between the different rows.
Oh,
I was trying to test it and make sure that I can use this parameter and that the different parameters are functioning correctly. So I figured this is a very powerful tool to scrape a website, to be able to convert all that data to a tab file, and then just paste it into your formula and convert it directly into JSON. And once it's in JSON, then we have all the functions in the world to parse it all out and get the data we want. So I figured this would be super powerful. And then, see, as I was going through here, I was just creating little demos of each of the different parameters. So now we're getting to the really fun stuff here. So here you can see I was using the JSON, and so I have the JSON here from the previous example. And so I created a while function here. This while function that's going to loop through all of that JSON, and it's going to convert it into an actual formula. So this formula, if I just do Control A, copy, and I go into Tools, Data Viewer, Watch, and then paste it in here, I can evaluate it, and you see just like that, I have all the JSON from that website in a formula. So this is how I was able to put it into my custom function without having to actually type any of this. So really cool to just be able to create a JSON set element, have it all populate without having to really do any work. So now that I have the function, I can use this on any tab file. So super cool.
Real quick, we got another one from Nathan on Twitch. Could you mention again why you used a tab delimited file?
So tab is really easy to parse out. If I use a CSV file, it's a little bit more complicated because you got the commas, and then there's a number of rules that go into the tab file or into the CSV file to deal with all the escape characters and other things. Tab files are a little simpler, and it's easier to convert. So that's why I was deciding to go with the tab. It just made creating my function a lot easier. And Excel will create either, so why not take advantage of the tab file? So,
oh, there you go.
So yesterday, to follow up on yesterday, I pointed this file out, and I was saying, he has all these examples. This is a file Steve SSH in the Claire's community created. So I went into here and I was like, here's this JSON query. Here's the JSON. It's looking for the ID. ID equals 997. But I didn't quite understand how his demo file worked because it's been years since I looked at this. I've been using the formula for a long time, but it's been a while. So apparently there's a run button down here. And the way this is set up is this is JSON input. So this is 1,000 records. So it shows how many records, how many characters. And if I scroll all the way down this, there's a lot of records here. It's a lot of data. So what it's doing is it's parsing all of this. It's looking through here. It's querying the data. It's looking for, through the JSON, for the ID that equals 997. Return, yeah, if it's a JSON number, then we want to return that. So you can see right here, it returned one record, and here's the ID, and it returned all the data for that record. So really cool. And then you can go through here even further. Here he's going into the JSON again. This one only has 250 records. So he actually has like 4 different sets of JSON data in this file. So this one is looking at a little bit smaller set, but it's looking at the JSON. It's looking at work dot company name. So this is a path. So it's looking, if I scroll down here, we got person. So here's that work. So it's looking through the path. So there's the key. And then we're looking into the work section for the company name, where it equals this group. I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. Ramagura. And then the JSON string is the value type it's looking for. So when we run this, if I go down to run example, it found, again, one record. And if I scroll down to work, company name, there it is. So there's 40 examples here. I've shared the demo file with you all. Steve also has a video. His video explains this in depth. This is a super powerful function. And again, there's tons of examples. He's got a little description of each of them. There's aggregate formulas, little gotcha examples down here. So yeah, definitely check this out. I use this a lot. I highly recommend it. So there's a video right here on all of these. Originally, it was called JSON Get Element Where, and over time, he eventually called it JSON Query. And then I was showing off JSON Dictionary Compare file, which compares to JSON. Some of you might not have been here yesterday. So I'm just going to kind of go through this. Maybe I'll go back a little bit. So here's just kind of a simple comparison. It's looking at the JSON A and JSON B and kind of looking at the differences between the two. I like to group it by the status. So if I scroll down here, compare, when you group by the status, then it's going to group it by entries that were added, entries that were changed, or entries that were removed. So over here, you can see it says, over here we have the lucky number of 7 right here, and it's not in this JSON anywhere. So it tells us that the lucky number changed from 7 to empty. Over here, we added an entry. So in the key of city, right here, oh, it's highlighting too much. In the key of city, the value A, the JSON A, doesn't exist, but in B it exists, so it's added. So then if we were to change, let's test that. So broccoli, apple, and then again we run it, compare the two. We can see now that we've changed food from broccoli to apple. So it really gives us a lot of information to work with. So I like to use this for my auto logging functions and features. So it's definitely got some really powerful uses. Are there any questions?
two kind of like comments. One from Stu is compare seems really powerful. I would love to see an implementation. And then Ed Burkle, which I kind of like asked a follow-up question. He said, I'm going to rewatch this in hopes I can figure out how to send data to the web with address info and get the USPS address with zip.
Oh, yeah. So that is also in here. So everybody's going to be able to get this demo file. We've already posted it. It's on Discord. I don't know if it's on YouTube and Twitch, but we do have that down here. So check out the scripts here. If I go into debugger here, if I want to look at the zip code, basically what it's doing is it goes in here. It's going to commit the records in case you're still editing a field. And then it's going to use the JSON get elements as variables. And then it's going to look at all these different values from here and adjust as necessary before it creates the URL. So it's creating the URL here. And then here it's going to insert. So if I go to data viewer, insert from URL, we want to look at what the URL is. So this is a very simple URL. It's just going to zipapadum.us. It's looking at the country US. So I've defaulted it to US. You can also do this with other countries too. You can put CA for Canada. And then I put the zip code in there. So definitely check out their documentation. It's well documented how to do this. So basically then I'm inserting from URL and it's giving me this JSON data. So here I have the postal code. There's a zip code I entered. And I also told it to look in the United States. So it has United States. It gives us the abbreviation. It gives us the places. So here there's only the one place, which is Renton. It gives us longitude, latitude, the state abbreviation. So a lot of handy information. And then we'll just go through here. Here I'm converting it into a little more friendly format. And I'm doing this for my JSON get elements as variables function. So that way I can just look at this and go, oh, here's all the data that I need from that URL response. And then I can get those variables. I can put it all in the fields just like that. And then I can, if it's not giving me any information, I'm just going to go ahead and clear those fields and then commit the records at the end. So that's basically how that works. I don't think I've explained that until now, so I'm glad we brought that up and we went through that in detail so that you can see how that works.
A quick recap to make sure that I get it, because my FileMaker knowledge is very scattered. So basically what you did was you called the information from insert at URL, and then you set the fields with the information that you'd acquired out of the JSON after parsing it. So I'm just asking because Ed was like way over my head, need to slowly digest it. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to break this down to like really basic terminology, like that I can understand it, frankly.
Right. Yeah. So right here, I'm getting the city and the state. That's all the information that I have to work with. So when I select that, it's going through here. Let me go back to edit layout, and this button should have a parameter. So this part I also didn't show till now. So I'm creating a JSON parameter. So it's giving me the zip, the city, and the state. And those are the only fields that I'm working with in the UI. So once I have that information, then I'm able to go into the script. And here I have an example parameter in case I need to use it somewhere else. I always do an example parameter when I'm using JSON parameters. So that way I can just quickly copy, paste it into a button or into a script call in some other script. Wherever I need this, I have this data right here, and I can customize it, map it to the fields that I need. And then just call the script with that JSON, and it's going to do all the work, and it's going to return the response. If I'm going to use it in another script, I'll do exit script here. Exit script, and then I'll put in the JSON result. So that way I have the data in case I don't want to use this. Maybe this doesn't work for me based on the situation. So maybe I want a universal script that I can use anywhere in any file, and I just call it. I tell it to go to this file, run the script, and return me that response in JSON. So this way I change it from this database specifically to a universal script that I can use anywhere. and then I just use the get script response to get the response from this call. So then I can script it elsewhere to update all the fields as necessary, so as needed. I didn't need to save that.
Well, it happens. I mean, it's better to save than to not save, like 90% of the time.
Yeah, I just get in the habit of always save. It's not letting me undo it, but anyhow, all I have to do is that and save. Okay. So I hope that answers everybody's questions there. So next we're going to get into some really fun stuff here. So more useful custom functions. So a lot of times we're creating a database and we want to use JSON from every record in our table. So here I have the contacts table, and I'm using a summary field to get a summary of a field that just has JSON for each of the records. So if I go, just to be a little more clear, let's go to the table. And in the table, I have the summary field. It's giving me a list of values from the field JSON. JSON, I have as an auto enter calculation. So this auto enter calculation is basically just saying, here's the JSON that I want. It represents every record in my file or in my table. So we're getting the JSON and then we're collecting it, and we're using a summary field to put it all in a list for us. So the problem is here I have the list of all of the records in JSON, but this is not valid JSON. There's no commas between the records. So right here, there's supposed to be a comma between these brackets, and there's no square bracket at the top to identify it as an array. And so what we get is when we're trying to get information out of this, see here I'm trying to get the first one out of an array, but it's not a valid JSON array. So therefore it gives us this ugly little response here. We don't want that. So this is part 1 of 2. So I'm going to go through the solution I have for it. So here I created a custom function, JSON merge list. It's going to look at that exact same summary field with the exact same data, but it's going to add this array on the top. It's going to go through and add all these commas as needed all the way down the line. So it works very quickly. And it also doesn't put the comma at the end here. So all of that's taken care of in the function. And then now we can use the same exact formula that we used before to get that first object out of our array. So that is a super powerful function. I love using that for my API integrations for if I'm trying to do a call to my server to get information through the API, and I wanted to return all this data from my table. That's really useful. So then I can just create one layout with one field on it, and it's just my JSON field, and then I can have it do all this work for me.
We do have a quick question. I assume this is from you, David. Correct me if I misunderstand your question, but it said, why does Kyle always use JSON get element inside JSON format element? JSON format is only for humans.
Right. So I do this for demonstration because beginners aren't going to know what the heck they're looking at here, especially if I didn't have the color format on here. If I wasn't using the MBS plugin to get all this fancy color in there, this would just be a block of text and nobody could understand what that is. So
no, you're absolutely right. If you
that's why I formatted it so it's for the viewers to be able to see it, and so you can easily understand what it's doing. So when and
that makes sense.
JSON format elements, I always try to format everything so that just for so you can all see it easier and understand what's going on.
Okay, that makes sense. There we go.
All right, so next function, Prepanned Array. So those of you who've been to my YouTube site, there's a video that I created about navigation, browser navigation. So it stores everything in JSON. And when you go back and forth between web pages, I have to keep everything in order in which it was seen. So I can't just say, add a new element when I'm going, depending on which direction I'm going. one of the directions I have to actually prepend the array, which means put the new JSON object above the others. So I'm basically pushing everything else down in order to insert an object above. There is no FileMaker function that allows us to do that, so I went ahead and created one. So that's this JSON prepend array. So I'm creating this JSON here. So right here's the formula. It's creating this JSON array. And then I want to prepend, which means I want to replace, or I want to move everything down and put a new one at the very beginning. So you can see here, Kyle FM Dev at Gmail does not exist over here. It's now putting it over here. And these ones, it's keeping everything in order. So it's not rearranging or sorting anything. It's just pushing these down and putting a new one at the top. So that's another function I really enjoy. All of these have their use cases. See, JSON in a summary list. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Ruben was commenting.
we got a funny question, which
sure,
we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to ask you to clarify, Brian, because the question "What voodoo was that?" doesn't really tell me.
Voodoo.
We should go look at. Can you clarify what voodoo it was that you are curious about? Because we'd be happy to go back and break it down again, but we need to know. So please tell us.
Oh, the browser style navigation feature, just so you know, I did put a URL right here. So you can copy and paste that into a URL and see that video. There's also a demo file.
Yes. I'm going to repost the links. Feel free to continue, and then I'll probably have to stop you whenever we get a clarification on what the voodoo was.
So I was using Postman, and Postman has this function in it called JSON Stringify, where it takes this formatted JSON and it stringifies it into one line of text. So this could be used as an ID in a relationship. So it's just one line of text. If I can expand that, maybe I can. So let's take this. I'm just going to copy. Oop. Watch. We don't need this anymore. So delete. We're going to make a new one. Stringify. So as you can see, this is one line of text. So this could be used as in a relationship if you need to. It can also be reevaluated. So I'm going to show that here in just a moment. So this is still useful information. So this is part 1 of 2. So let's go to part 2. So here we're looking at this with the JSON Stringify. It's giving us this text. It has all the escapes in here. And we can actually use the evaluate function on it. So this is evaluating this field with this text. And I'm formatting it just for you guys to be able to see what it's returning. So you can see it returns exactly what we started with. So this could be a really easy way to pass it as one list item. So if you have a list of values and you want to include JSON as one of those lists, one of those values in your list, this could be a handy function to be able to do that, to be able to pass data as JSON and convert it back to JSON on the other side. So there's a few use cases for that. I just thought that would be handy, so I was playing around with creating a function for that. Over the years, I've constantly battled with all these functions to be able to try to get this information. I really wanted to be able to have one function that I can call anywhere, anytime, in any application, to be able to get all this information, to be able to get the application version, what browser version, device. If they're using a desktop, an iPhone, a laptop, it'll tell you right here, laptop. So FM version number, the mobile, so mobile type laptop. This was actually done on the laptop. Let's see if I add a space. There we go. So I developed all this file on a laptop, so that's why it said laptop. So I just added a space here to recalculate that. So you can see now that I'm on a desktop, it actually returned desktop. So this is my system information. See, I'm using FileMaker 19.3.2, and it gets rid of the extra decimals. So that's really handy. What operating system I'm using, what orientation my screen is. So yeah, I'm on a desktop computer, so it's going to be landscape, but it'll tell you portrait too if you're on a mobile device and what platform you're on. So this way you get all that information in one place with one function, and it's all in JSON format, so you can easily parse it out. So oftentimes I'm getting the FileMaker version number, and also you can use the ABS function on that. So a couple different ways you can do that.
That is very cool. Real quick, we're going to, excuse me, sorry. We're going to talk briefly. Brenham had an interesting question. Ruben kind of answered it, I think, but I'm just going to say it again. It's too much to talk about now, but is there a way to convert XML to JSON? And then Ruben links the website.
Yes, there is. Yeah, MBS has a function also, I think, to convert XML to JSON, and a demo file for that.
So if we wanted to do it inside of FileMaker, use Monkey Bread then?
I'm pretty sure Monkey Bread does. If it wasn't Monkey Bread, then it was Base Elements. But I believe that it was Monkey Bread. It's been a while. I obviously I don't use that function every day. So those are the two plugins I use most often.
Ken Barrett has asked a specific question. Your FM version number shows 19.32. Shouldn't it be 19.3.2?
Right. So you can see application version. This is what we get. But when we're trying to calculate if somebody's using FileMaker version 16, 17, 18, 19, we're using a number, and we're going to be using, is the user using FileMaker greater than 19? So is this version greater than 19 or equal to 19? Then we're going to use this value. If we add an extra decimal in there, then it's going to produce an error, because then suddenly we're comparing with a string, and a string is a lot less useful than a number. So that if you wanted the string, it's right here. Otherwise, you can get the number, and you can compare it. Is it greater than 19? So 2 decimals is not a valid number. So that's why using a numerical calculation to figure out what version they're using wouldn't work. So that's why I did it that way. Because oftentimes I'm doing 19.3. I'm creating my own versions of applications, and so I'm also using multiple decimals, and maybe I want to use some other symbols or something. And but to see if I need to, when somebody's opening up like a tablet app, I want it to look at what version they're using versus what the new version is that I've recently created, and let the user know if they need to update to the newer version, because they may be using version 2.37.2, and maybe I have a new one that's 0.4 at the end, and I just want to compare the numbers. So I think we've passed that one. So here I have another function, JSON list tables. So this I'm able to pull it into JSON. Here I have the table ID, and try to remember what that. Oh, that's the ID of the table. Okay, so this is a bunch of table IDs starting with this value. It also goes through and has the names of the tables. Then I did some sample formulas here. So JSON list keys, table names. These are the keys for each of the tables. And then JSON format element, get element, looking at this field, table names dot. Okay, so it's looking at table names. So here I have 2 keys. There's table IDs, and if I scroll down, somewhere here there's table names. So it has 2 keys, 2 parent keys. So I'm looking at which one I want to parse out, and then I can look up the table ID. So I can look up the table by its name or by the ID. So basically that's what I'm showing here. So here I'm getting all the information from this table ID, and it's returning this. So here's the name of the table. So you can see the table name. So that matches. So I'm just looking at the table information using its name, or you're looking at the table information using its ID. So couple different ways to use that function.
Has there been a live stream on building custom functions? We discussed them by different, like, it's a bit, correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but it'd be kind of difficult because, like, each custom function is going to be kind of wildly different.
Yeah, every custom function, you can see here I have a ton of custom functions in here. Every single one of these is going to be very different. So, like, Stringify is going to be fairly simple. It's a substitute that goes through it all. Then, like, here's a little, I think this was a little bit more complicated. So this is collecting information from all the various FileMaker functions and then putting it in JSON format for us. So every custom function is going to be a little different. This one is very simple. It doesn't get any simpler than that.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's like any sort of standard thing that you could talk about when it comes to like creating custom functions, like.
So when you're creating custom functions, you want to have a name, and then you want to create your parameters, figure out what kind of parameters you want. I always start with the data viewer when I'm creating custom functions. And, here I start with this, started creating a while function. And then, as I'm building it, I get the while function working perfectly. And then I figure out what parameters I want to use in order to make that work.
Okay, so there's some stuff we could talk about is what I'm grasping. Okay, so
yeah.
Before we derail off into very interesting custom function land, I will talk to Richard and see what we can do about having a live stream on building custom functions and like what are some basics that you would need to know if you happen to stumble upon something and Kyle hasn't already made it for you. So, where were we?
We're just going through some of these custom functions that I created. Here I have JSON list layouts. So again, this allows you to be able to look up a layout using its name or its ID. And you can see here the JSON that it creates. And here I have just some examples of get element by the ID 29. So you can see both times it's giving us the same data, whether I'm looking at the name of it or the ID of it. There's another custom function I think I included in here. Maybe I didn't. So I wanted to also show you another custom function that I use a lot. See if I have that. I'm trying to remember where I might have used it. Might not be in here. Nope, no custom functions there. Okay, so I have a custom function called GetID, which you can get any ID from its table name. Give me a moment. I'm going to find it just because I want to show everyone. I'm going to step into this, and I'm going to try to hide all these windows that pop up. Maybe I should just stop sharing for a moment.
Feel free, and then I can talk about something.
Here, let me find that function here. I did a production file, and there's like 12 different files I have to open up, which is why it took so long. It's trying to open all these files and get all the relationships working.
Okay.
So, all right, we're back. Okay, so data viewer. I just added my fancy other custom function, which I should share. I'm sure I have it in one of my demo files, but it's called GetID. And basically what this is, object. So I can do a get layout name, and then the type of object I want to get. So this could be either an L for layout, it could be S for script ID, it could be V for value list. What am I forgetting? Script layout table. So T for table. So here I'm trying to get the layout name or the layout ID from the layout name. Obviously, this is the current file. I'm just going to go ahead and throw some variables in there so we know what those are. So we evaluate. So I'm on layout number 53. If I change this to 53, evaluate JSON custom functions, which matches the layout I'm on. So this is really powerful. If I have like a script up here, if I knew what names I had for scripts, I could use an S here, and then scripts. Let's just try one. Script, and then say script 1. Oh, apparently it highlighted everything. GetID. Apparently I can't type live stream.
It always happens. Your fingers get fat fingered on stream.
Yeah. Okay, so it's just so this is really, apparently I created too many scripts apparently and deleted them all. But basically, this would give us the scripts or maybe value list one. So there's a value list of one. So value list by ID. I only have 4 value lists apparently. And this is really helpful for using execute data API with a different file, because when you're doing execute data API in a different file, you have to use the layout name. Well, the layout name may change in the other file, so you want to get the most recent layout name so you can reference the other file and then reference the layout ID. You can get the layout name from its ID this way using this function. So that way you get the most recent layout name. So that's one of the things I use it for.
Okay, that's very cool. Real quick, so we do have an interesting question from Spectre207 on Twitch. I tried useful function number 6, but got an error. Discovered the auto data entry calculation for JSON field was missing a custom function, JSON Colorize. Probably just me at this point, jumping in too soon.
Oh, okay. So I do have this right here, and it has to register the MBS plugin. This is a trial, so it's not going to last long. So if anybody's trying to hack that ID, it's not really going to matter much longer. So this will give us the error if the MBS didn't get registered. But basically, if this isn't run, then you're going to get the colorized pop-up errors. So
basically, Spectre, all the shiny, pretty colors that split up the bits so you can understand it better, that's an MBS function. And it's on trial for you, but if it doesn't run, then...
Yeah, so here's that JSON Colorize that he's talking about. So JSON Colorize, and it's evaluating the formula. So that's why I put that register in there, because I didn't want to deal with that pop-up message popping up over and over and over when I do this. If I didn't have that registered, it would give us a ton of pop-up errors, and nobody wants that on a live stream. So I decided to just sign up for a trial for this purpose, for this demo, and that's what that is.
There you go. Hopefully that answers your question, Spectra207. I think we got time for one more, Kyle. So.
Oh man, we're running out of time already.
I know.
So this oftentimes you want to be able to get all the JSON from the current record of your table, and this will go through all the fields in the table and return all of them, or you can have it return only a select few with the additional parameters. So right here, I'm not using any parameter here, and with this example down here, I'm actually using the function, and then I'm doing a list of fields that I actually want. So this is all the fields that I want versus all the fields in the table. So that could be really handy. Is it okay if we go just a little bit longer?
Yeah, I was kind of... You've got 10 to 15 minutes, I think, and then we're going to call it.
Perfect. That's all we need, I think. So is valid JSON. I've already shown that to everyone. Count keys. So this is counting the keys at a path. Basically, I created an array, and I'm counting the keys. There's 1, 2, 3. It's returning 3. And this one's returning 7 because we have 0, 1, and 6, which means we have a bunch of null values in between. So it's counting these 3 plus 3 null values, or 4 null values in between. So 2, 3, 4, and 5 are missing. So that gives us our 7. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. That's kind of repeat the same. Just get value lists. All right. So this, I'm trying to remember. So this is for creating a virtual list. So this I actually demoed in this other file, virtualist. So you can check out the video for that one. I'm not going to go use a bunch of time on that because I've already demoed it. FM list JSON array. Oh, so this we have a list that we're using in FileMaker, and maybe we want to turn this into a JSON array. So we have our key, then we have our list, and it's returning it in an array format. And then we can use our JSON get element functions on it. So here we can get the color array, and then we can get different values from our color array. So here I'm extracting the fourth value, which is number 3, which is orange. So 0, 1, 2, 3 gives us orange. And here I'm just returning it as a list using JSON list values. So sorry, I'm going a little bit faster here just because we're running out of time. So this is kind of handy. It's JSON list layout. It's basically going through all the layouts here. JSON list layouts. I already showed you that function. This is JSON list all keys. So it's combining 2 of these custom functions, and it's getting all of the JSON paths for this JSON right here. So we have our first path is 1, then we have 1.id, 1.name, then we have 2, 2.id, 2.name, and so on. So you can see that's what it's giving us. It's giving us all the possible paths that we can look up using JSON get element. So that could be handy. Merge arrays. So this basically I'm creating multiple arrays, I think. Merge arrays. 0. Oh, right. So this is one array. So this is 0 and 1, and it's giving us this, RCC consulting and FM dev. But we want to also add a second value from another array, which gives us the home value. So right here's that first section right here. And then here we're appending that array with another value. So that could be a useful function. Oh, here I totally almost didn't get to the really cool one. So here I have a field with some formatted text in it. Okay, so I'm using this custom function, CSS to JSON multi. So it's evaluating this text here, and it's getting it as JSON. So this is that CSS text in JSON format. And then on the next one, I'm getting nth record, so it's getting the previous record. And then it's returning that same JSON here from the previous record. So that way we can see what we had previously and what we're doing with it. So here I'm using another function, JSON CSS to formatted text, looking at the JSON here and converting it back into formatted text in a field. So that is super helpful when you're trying to save all this in an audit log, and you want to keep all of your bold, your italics, all of your formatting, your different sizes. You don't want to lose any of that in your audit log, and your audit log storing things as JSON. This allows you to keep all that custom formatting within the text without losing any of it. Okay, so this is looking for the first match in the array. So this I was also using with my audit logs. I think we're definitely out of time, aren't we? There's only a couple more here. We're at 19 out of 23. So do apologize. I'm almost done. So just a little array that I'm building here, and then I'm using JSON find first match in the array. So I'm looking at this array, and then I'm looking at the email type equals home. So the JSON query function could also do this, but this is finding the very first match within this array because there could be multiple matches. Maybe I just want to find the first match. So where the email type equals home, email type equals home. So it's looking through here and it's finding this object right here where that's actually true and returning that. Okay, so truncate array. This is another one that I did for my audit log. I'm going to have to demo the audit log here one of these days.
I'm sure, yeah.
I'm
sure it will happen.
This I have in my formula, number of arrays to keep. I'm looking through all the records in my JSON. I'm trying to find all the ones that are too old or too irrelevant to keep anymore. and I'm getting a count of all the ones that I actually want to keep. So the most recent ones are on the top. And so I'm wanting to keep all those most recent ones and get rid of all the irrelevant ones that I don't want anymore. So I'm using this function right here, looking at this JSON array here, and I only want the first two values. I don't want anything after that. So basically I'm truncating that array and it's returning the first two. So JSON get values at path. This is a Geist interactive function. So I actually didn't create this one. I put a little reference on there for Geist. So this is right here in this example, it's basically working the same as JSON list keys or list values. But where this really comes in powerful, see this is one of two, where this comes in really handy is here I'm able to get all the zip codes from this array. So I have this array here with a bunch of different values, but all I want out of here is the zip codes from the array. So using this JSON get values at path, I'm looking at the path of places and I just want the zip codes in all of these places. So I'm looking at places, I just want the zip codes, so it's returning just the zip codes. So that is really powerful to get a list just like that. And I think this is the last one. Okay, so this one I actually already demoed. It's in the other file. I demoed this yesterday. But basically I'm getting the information from the contacts table. And then, so I'm using the primary key here for the IDs. You can see it's got a UUID. And then I'm able to get just the data that I want. So here I'm showing that I want the first name and the last name with a space in between. So say I wanted to add a dash in between the name, I can do that. So really customizable. You can get the information from any table in your file this way, and you can format the value. And so this is for creating virtual lists. It's in my virtual list demo. Sorry for rushing through that, but we're running out of time, and I really wanted to show those, and we're so close. So.
No, it's totally fine. You're good. We did say advanced JSON, so there was that.
Yeah. Yeah, so again, here's that in action. I can do this right here, and I can search for cat, and it returns cat, and it highlights it. So again, I added the link for this. So all the URLs are right here for the YouTube videos, so you can check all those out. And we go into depth on all of these files here. So.
Yes, and I'm sure that we have you scheduled for next Tuesday, so you're coming back.
Yes.
Again, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Kyle. We appreciate it. It's great to have you all here. Good to see you all. Have a good one. Bye.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected. The quarterback, great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but then he makes the grab.